We've got some comments here in support. Chris says Richard Bergen is a principled and dedicated trade unionist. And Sarah says, yes, Richard, united we are strong. I agree. I agree with those comments as well. So thank you, Richard, for joining us. To move on to our final speaker for what's been a fantastic plenary, I'm incredibly excited to introduce Diane Abbott. Diane Abbott is the president of Stand Up to Racism. And has been a member of Parliament for Hackney North and Stoke Newington since 1987, and is the former Shadow Home Secretary. So a big welcome to Diane Abbott.
Thank you very much. You've had some brilliant speakers in this plenary. And in closing, I just want to say a few things. But first of all, I want to offer my solidarity to the refugees, and in particular, the person that spoke so bravely and came on this call. I want to offer them my solidarity and to say it is so wrong that we have criminalized refugees. People have an absolute legal right to claim asylum. And yet, under the Tories, and sadly under New Labour, we have criminalised asylum seekers. But I also want to give solidarity to Diane Mulholland and the local people in West Wales who have mobilised and organised to support the refugees. So, as you've heard from the other speakers, we live in very dark times. We have a racist US president, and he is the most racist US president that I can remember. And I can remember Ronald Reagan, Richard Nixon, and I've never known a US president who so blatantly pandered to white nationalism in the way that Donald Trump does. And we all have to hope and pray that he loses the forthcoming presidential election. But we also have a racist British Prime Minister. I don't think anyone that's seen the things that Boris has said and done about grinning pickaninnies, I don't think anyone doubts that sadly he is a racist. And when you have people at the very top of the political pyramid who are racist, what you see is what we have seen is a rise in racism in state institutions. A rise in racism generally, and we've seen that, a rise in anti-Black racism, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia. We've also seen a rise, in particular, in anti-Chinese racism. Global traffic to anti-Asian hate sites has doubled. Hate crime in this country against Chinese people has gone up 300%. And the increase in the global use of Twitter hashtags encouraging violence against China and Chinese people has gone up by 900%. And so we see the rise in racism. We see the rise in racism in state institutions, whether it's police in the United States, and we've all seen the horrible images of George Floyd being killed in plain sight by a policeman, but also racism in the police here in Britain. Ryan spoke very well about his experience about stop and search by the police. And it's worth repeating that Black people are disproportionately likely to be stopped and searched. We are disproportionately likely to be handcuffed. We are even disproportionately likely to be fined under coronavirus legislation. So how President Dick can say there's no institutional racism in the Metropolitan Police, I'm afraid I do not know. And of course, we also heard from Mina Ajipong and her awful experience of being raided by the police because someone saw her 12-year-old boy with a gun. We're seeing a rise in racism in immigration. Trump talking about his wall to keep Latino migrants out. Trump putting migrants in cages and separating children from their parents. And here in Britain, we've had the horrific racist narrative in the media about channel crossings. These are desperate people from Syria and North Africa trying to cross to safety in rubber boats, rubber dinghies, and the British media is talking about them as if they're an invading army. And British politicians are talking about bringing the Navy in to turn the boats round, to have a wave machine. It's as if they don't care about the lives of those people trying to flee to safety. And just on the question of Windrush, some of you will have seen Tory politicians say how sorry they are about what happened with Windrush, where a whole generation of Caribbean migrants were criminalised and deported and harassed. Well, they're not that sorry, because although they claim they were running a scheme to compensate these people, actually pathetically small sums of money has been paid out. The compensation, the mechanism is going incredibly slowly. And the danger is, because this is an aging cohort, very many of them will die before they get the compensation they're entitled to. That's how sorry the Tories are about Windrush, not sorry at all. And of course, you've heard about coronavirus and how that has shone a light on inequality, including racial inequality. And, you know, we could have done a lot better against coronavirus if this government hadn't been so anxious to dish out these huge contracts to private sector operators like Serco, who've made a complete mess of test and trace. If they had listened to trade unions like the NEU, we heard from Kevin Courtney earlier, and the UCU, who tried to say what would happen if you brought children back to school and brought students back to university. They tried to say, and they were right, there has been a terrible spike in infections, but the government wouldn't listen to them because they don't want to listen to working people. And there was even an element in the Labour Party which didn't want to listen to the unions either. But here we are. It's a time of crisis. It's a time of rising racism. And it is as if we are going to plunge into a terrible economic crisis. But you know, Diane Mulholland, speaking earlier, actually showed us the way. The way is to come together and to organise. Whether you're organising locally, whether you're organising in your trade union, whether you're organising nationally, working people need to unite and come together. We need to push back against the rise in racism. We have to push back against racist politicians, not just because we want to be charitable to be migrants and people of colour, but because we will all be stronger. We will all be better if we come together, if we organise, and if we stand up to racism. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak. I think it's been a tremendous plenary, and I look forward to seeing some of the people on the call in the coming period as we work and campaign against racism. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that, Diane. And I want to emphasize what you said. You know, I think it is absolutely important that we come together, we unite, and we organise. So thanks very much for closing our plenary, and really thanks to all of our speakers for those powerful contributions, and also thank you to everyone at home for joining us and being part of the discussion and sharing your thoughts with us this evening. And I suppose I wanted to flag up some events before people leave and so on, because we want to turn what we've been talking about here today and over the weekend in general through the conference. We want to turn these things into concrete action and so on. And so I suppose to emphasize some of the dates and key times in the calendar in that project. First of all, on the 4th of November, people will be gathering outside of the US Embassy to offer solidarity to the Black Lives Matter movement in the United States in a socially distanced fashion with plenty of PPE and so on. So please do find out about get in touch with your local branch, Stand Up to Racism branch, and find out how you can be a part of that and so on. Also in November, we have Islamophobia Awareness Month, and Stand Up to Racism will be holding events on Islamophobia and supporting initiatives led by different Muslim groups. So if you want to find out more about Islamophobia Awareness Month, then go to MEN's website, so that's mend.org.uk / Islamophobia Awareness Month. / again. Again, to repeat, the Care for Calais Winter Appeal is happening now at a time where refugees are facing the harshness of winter and are in vulnerable conditions across Europe. And so please do visit and lend support to Care for Calais. You can visit their website, which is careforcalais.org.uk, and from the 1st of November, and you'll be able to find out how you can help towards the winter appeal. And I suppose the final, not at all the final point, going into the new year in January, we'll be marking Holocaust Memorial Day, and it's important that everyone unites against anti-Semitism and fascism and say loudly, and clearly, never again. So again, contact your local branch if you want to be involved in organising things for that. And the final thing really is UN Anti-Racism Day. This in 2021 is going to be on the 20th of March, and we'll be seeing events and actions taking place not just all over the country, but all over the world as well for UN Anti-Racism Day. So again, get organised, get linked up to people, and be a part of that in the coming months. And I think if you want to, build actions across Britain, then, please join and share the Facebook event by going to the Stand Up to Racism Facebook page and share and lend your support that way. And I suppose the final point to really say, now that we've got the key dates and so on out the way, is that, if you're not a part of Stand Up to Racism, or you haven't joined yet, then I'd strongly encourage you to join us and help us build, a mass anti-racist movement that not only can smash racism, but win, real fundamental change. And I'll leave it at that. Solidarity with everyone.